If there is one thing that engages me more than just epic fights and badass characters, it's the sight of seeing your personal heroes that you have put up on high pedestals, tested for their worth and values, fighting to the death or even succumbing to death itself. This morbid infatuation for heroes dying, at least to me, is merely a writing device that triggers empathy and a tangible connection I can have with these larger-than-life figures. Basically, is the concept of the dying hero. First of all, a hero is an individual who goes out of their way to help people, forgoing any sense of self-interest for the sake of others. Sometimes the heroics can come with ulterior motives, like making a living out of your ability to contribute positively to society. But hey, heroes gotta eat and pay them bills, y'all. So when such an individual is faced with the possibility of death, not only would it mean the end of their lives, but the end of everything they represent to us. But if it were as simple as,
Superman died in BBS, oh god, this makes me really sad and now I care more about what he represented.
Nope, you'd be dead wrong. Empathy or concern can be an immediate expression, but for the most part, a piece of media really needs to make you care and dread the possibility of your favorite character dying, and not always because of the lack of plot armor in shows like Game of Thrones or The Walking Dead. In the case of Boku no Hero Academia, the anime and manga managed to apply this concept remarkably well, and here's how it does it.
The conditioning.
Both the anime and manga condition us with subtle and obvious hints to Almight's vulnerability and progressive mortality. Almight is a symbol of peace in Boku no Hero Academia, having the charm of an awesome Chad, like me, as well as being an unstoppable force of power that can ravage any villain. Almight is the personification of good and strength, and thus inspires all kinds of people in his world to strive for such strength. But Almight isn't all-powerful, but in fact he is simply a part of the Japanese knack
kayfabe.
He portrays a facade of strength and stability when we know that he is physically broken as a result of his past confrontation with All for One. The scar on his ribcage and the fact that he constantly coughs up blood when he is All Might thin shows us that the brute is nothing more than just a sinewy, sickly man. We get to see this before he had transferred his power to Midoriya, and when he eventually does, All Might slowly begins to become weaker, becoming a shell of his former self. The best moment that encapsulates this is the normal versus All Might fight. All Might's punches have lost their weight at this point, and it seems like the projected easy victory that is associated with him is unavailable. He eventually wins the fight, but All Might struggles in the beginning, and the show casts genuine doubt about his current ability to handle such encounters. Despite how powerful the normal seem, All Might in his prime would have probably ended the fight as a one-sided confrontation. But things have changed, and he can no longer showcase the same dominance he had to his enemies. The gradual decline in strength even makes Deku wonder whether or not he's a worthy successor to carry out All Might's mantle. All Might relinquishing the power of One for All has made him susceptible to harm, and with the way the League of Villains are constantly seeking to destroy him and what he represents, a weaker version of their nemesis would boost their desire to pursue him to the death. With that said, the reality of a hero being vulnerable really hits home when the villains are actively pursuing him when he has a handicap.
The persistent antagonists.
The League of Villains, for the most part, have a sense of agency and are proactive in making sure they can get the attention of All Might. The last thing a person would want is to be constantly attacked by enemies with genuine hatred towards you. But All Might isn't alone and has the entourage of the elites of the Hero Association. He has allied himself with powerful heroes like Gran Torino, Endeavor, and so forth. However, villains like Tomura Shigaraki have a strong hatred for the hero system, and his unwavering resolve gets to me because it goes from just being an antagonist of the moment, fulfilling the role of being the source of conflict, to being a representation of a man who is going out of his way to settle personal grudge. Just as much as All Might is loved, there are also groups of individuals who hate him and wish for nothing but his demise. This also adds weight to the conditioning of the audience, and the best example of this concept being done well is the movie Logan. In Logan, Wolverine pretty much goes through the stages of vulnerability in a world where mutants are endangered species and are nearly extinct due to the science developed by the military to kill them off. The adamantium poisoning from his metal skeleton has weakened him, causing him to take longer to regenerate, and has also made him age and susceptible to illness. This is no longer the dangerous, violent killing machine, but an old Logan with emotional baggage who is no longer in his prime. The dark, gritty atmosphere of the film gives a sense of finality and parallels Boku no Hero Academy in regards to Almight's situation. Both stories have iconic heroes who have been reduced to merely relics of their golden age. The fact that both men no longer possess that fierce strength and have to make the most out of their vulnerability makes the situation dire. The question of whether they could lose or die begins to linger in your mind. And finally, the one missing piece to draw out your concern for their well-being becomes the existence of
the antithesis.
Weapon X-24 and All for One aren't just a match for our respective heroes, but are the complete opposites to the heroes. The Nemesis, as you would call it, completes the concept of the dying hero by not only having the capacity to kill the hero, but by being able to impose the contrarian ideals they represent to the world through the death of the hero. If All for One were to kill Almight, the belief that power is supposed to be hogged by one supreme individual would become the norm, and the hero society would quickly crumble to the reality that the symbol of peace could not hold his own against the evil of All for One. That's why I felt great sorrow and cried more so for the anime than the manga when episode 49 aired. The warning signs of Almight being weak and vulnerable were materializing in this episode, and the symbol of peace was reduced to a skinny state, facing off against an enemy who was clearly overpowering him. It's important to also state the significance of the visual allegory of the different art styles of Almight 100% and Almight Thin. The masculine Almight has an American comic book art style aesthetic, representing the romanticized love that author Koi Hirokoshi has for Western comics, which embody the incorruptible ideals of heroism and the power of superheroes. On the other hand, skinny Almight looks more like a manga character, who is devoid of the novelty of the Western superhero craze, in both his appearance and style. This thin Almight is made to duke it out against All for One in the grand finale, covered in blood, and his frail state is shown to the world for all to see. The first death of Almight is his public image. The facade of the smiling muscular man is gone, and what would probably break everyone's hearts is if he were to die in the final clash against All for One. Almight doesn't end up dying in the end, but the emotions that culminated for the hope of his victory from both the viewers and the random crowd watching the broadcast came from a place of great concern, because we wanted the weak version of our hero to win. Deep down inside, the possibility of him dying was now a reality, and with all the warning signs of his deterioration in power, all you could hope for was for him to win. That, my audience, is basically the concept of the dying hero. Thank you for watching, and if you'd like to support the channel, consider donating to my Patreon, where you'll get access to exclusive content and extra goodies beyond YouTube. For the next coming weeks, I would like to break formula and cover Korean dramas like Mystery Queen and Chicago Typewriter, so no worries for all those who may be waiting for my reviews of those shows. Follow me on Twitter and Instagram to keep yourself updated with whatever I plan to do. This is your boy, the GB.